Today, let's talk about data types. Every field in HL7 is of a defined data type. The data type of an element governs the following three attributes: the format of the information in the element, the number of subcomponents that the element may contain, and whether the element's content may be restricted to a controlled vocabulary. Data types for a field with a single component are said to be simple. Data types for a field with multiple components are said to be complex. Each component of a complex data type has its own data type. In other words, a patient address field may have a component with numbers data type and a component with text data type. So the first data type we're going to talk about is ST. ST equals plain string data. Data type ST is used for elements that are meant to contain relatively short, left-justified text strings. Left-justified. If you don't know what that means, when you type in a Word document and you click those little lines at the top of the ribbon on your Word document that moves everything to the left side of the paper, that's left justified. So ST is used for things that are going to be on the left side of a document. ST is recommended for elements that are less than 200 characters long. An ST type field would look something like this. I like pizza inside the field. And I do like pizza, by the way. Data type TX. TX is for long text strings. A TX element may be up to 65,536 characters. Data type TX is used for elements that will contain text to be displayed to the user. This data type can also be used to accommodate long text strings. Paragraphing and leading spaces are allowed. Data type TX can be separated into paragraphs through a special application of the repetition separator. Each time the repetition separator occurs in a TX element, it indicates a hard carriage return. Don't forget, the repetition separator is the tilde. Here's an example of data type TX in action. Right? So you have the following text. It's got indentions. It's not left justified. It's been indented. And it's two sentences. The patient breathes with difficulty. There's a history of respiratory illness on both sides of the patient's family. And it could be sent in a field of type TX as follows. The second and third lines actually run on to the end of the first segment, right? So you have the first sentence, the period, then you have the tilde. Here's the indent. So it's indented here. That's how that indent is accomplished. And then you have the second part, and it would all be inside of one field. And that's how you could use TX to do some clever spacing and, make it pretty. Data type FT. Formatted text. Formatted text contains special formatting commands enclosed in opening and closing escape characters. The escape character is the backslash. And the formatting commands are SP number, and that tells it to skip a certain number of spaces. .br would be a line break. .fi, begin fill or word wrap mode. .nf, begin no fill or word wrap mode. .in, indent a certain number of spaces. TI, temporary indent a number of spaces. SK, skip a number of spaces to the right. Or CE, end the current line, center the next line. All right, so these are all different ways to format text on a page. It's important to remember that these messages that are flying around in HL7 eventually end up on a form that human users will use. It will be an order that gets printed in the radiology department. It will be a report that gets printed in the ER department and given to the ER physician. So in order to make those reports look pretty, you need these different formatting commands. And they are separated out with the escape character, the backslash. Right, so here's an example from the book of data type FT in action. Right, so here you have the patient breathes with difficulty. There's a history of respiratory illness on both sides of the patient's family. It could be sent FT. Now, same thing. We just talked about doing it as TX. It's really just style. How do you want to code your report? We did it the same way in FT. Now we're just going to, or TX. Now we're going to do the same thing in FT. So you've got the escape characters, temporary indent of 5 spaces. Patient breathes with difficulty. Line break moves it down a page. Temporary indent 5, you have the escape character separating out these commands. There's a history of respiratory illness on both sides of the patient's family. So, is one better than the other? I don't know. It's whatever you feel like doing. If formatted text and using all these crazy commands seems too difficult, then do it with TX. If TX is too simplistic for you and you like the coolness of all these escape characters and awesome commands, you can do it with formatted text. Just two different ways people do it. Data type NM. Real simple. NM is numeric values. Data type NM is used to send numeric values. A field with the simple data type NM would look like this, 35. A field with a complex data type, including NM, would look like this, cholesterol level, component separator, 35. And that is really all there is to the data types. And what I've given you here is the 5 most common data types you will see in the radiology field. There are hundreds of data types, and I'll show you a slide next in the next screencast that will show you thousands of data types, and you could probably spend a good portion of your life just studying data types. But these are the ones you really need to know. They're the most common ones. Thank you for watching.